Hello everyone and welcome to the Tech Talks podcast. I'm your host Sanskriti Kadam and
I am Krishi Shah. Today we have with us Akarshan Kapoor, who is a fourth year data science student at IIT Mandi. He has taken part in GSoC as a contributor in 2023 as well as in 2024 and has won multiple hackathons in India and Germany both. Welcome, Akarshan.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, first of all, for inviting me to this podcast, Krishi and Sanskriti. Uh, First of all, even before going ahead and giving my introduction, I'd like to go ahead and, sort of give a shout out to the amazing work that these guys are doing on on their YouTube channel, IntelligenZ. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And by the way, I was not paid for this promotion, so it's coming from the heart. Let's go. Really excited for the podcast.
yeah. So we have jotted down some couple of questions for you. So let's start with it now. Can you start telling a bit about your journey and how did you skilled yourself in such a diverse way?
Hmm. So, first of all, a little bit about me. Again, like I'm Akarshan Kapoor. I am a fourth year undergraduate in the Department of Data Science at IIT Mandi. Uh, right now, I'm doing a semester exchange program at TU Dresden. So, it's for me, like I was doing a semester exchange program in Germany for the past 1 year. First was in TU Braunschweig for the summer semester, and right now in TU Dresden for the winter semester. And as for my technical journey, well, I say that I actually dived into coding back in my ninth and 10th grade because that's when you get started with learning Java and stuff, right? So I was already a little bit into game development, learning about Java. There's this IDE called BlueJ. So installing that on your Windows laptop, on your old bulky gaming laptops that you had during those days. So that was the initial part. But the actual coding journey for me actually began during like little coding journey began for me during the first year. So there's this very awesome club that we have. It's called Command Prompt. Uh, there's a very nice wordplay here. Command, as in, is a village in IIT Mandi. So it's like a small village in IIT Mandi. So in Mandi, Himachal Pradesh, and that's why the name Command Prompt. So I got interested into the sessions that the computer science people were giving there, and for me it was like a really nice learning about different technologies and stuff. Okay, learning about okay, computer science is not just about coding. It's about learning a lot of different aspects like product management, business development as well. So those are like the important skills. As for having a multidisciplinary approach, I will say that I already knew a little bit about game development in the Unity game engine. So that was a plus point. So that I had a background about C hash, C++, Java and stuff. So that was really cool. Since my degree is data science, I started diving into like learning about the mathematics and stuff like classical machine learning involving regression, classification, neural networks, perceptron layers, and all the stuff, activation functions. So very basic mathematics through college classes as well as like through YouTube channels. There's this very awesome video by Andrew Ng, who's like he's a very, I'll say he's a goat in machine learning. So, so that's really very nice. So that's how I got, started delving into data science and stuff. Game development, I already knew. Apart from that, normal front-end development, back-end development, React Native for React Native slash Flutter for mobile development. So a little bit everywhere. That's when I got started, got into open source and stuff. So I started diving into Linux drivers, Linux kernel, about how the Linux operating system works. Tried installing Ubuntu for the first time, ended up removing the entire hard drive. So that those are the part of the experiences in the multidisciplinary approach.
Right, that's a very awesome journey. So I had a question like what motivated you to explore opportunities in semester exchange in Germany?
Hmm. I'll say like because it's not actually what motivated, it's actually a part of the college, right? It's part of the college life, the college culture that you are in. So you participate in JE mains and JE advance, and you actually gruel yourself, go through the grueling process for those 2 3 years. Then once you are into college, you really start exploring, okay, there's a like a diverse area of skill sets that I can explore. You can go into like UI UX, you can go into coding and stuff. So that's where like our college, especially IIT Mandi, has like a very awesome program. It's a semester exchange program. So we have like tie-ups, which are basically called memento of understandings between the German university and the Indian university. There are like a bunch of universities. There's one university in Japan. There's one university in US as well. So there are like a couple of universities in which we have tie-ups. There's one in I'm not sure, but I might be forgetting, but yes, we do have multiple tie-ups in different universities. So it's basically like we have like a CGPA criteria. So if you are like among the top people in a particular branch, not in a particular branch within the particular college, you are in a particular range and you are interested for that particular college, you can start applying. And with the help of CGPA filtering, you are shortlisted into different colleges. So let's just say that I have an okay CGPA. So I got shortlisted and I'm here as a semester exchange student in Germany.
So what inspired you to contribute to GSoC, that is Google Summer of Code, right, under open printing, and how did you decide on those projects of yours?
Hmm. So let's take a step back and actually, like I already told you guys, I'm not sure, but it started with the Hacktoberfest. So during the Hacktoberfest is basically your first introduction into open source. You start learning about Git, you start learning about GitHub. You actually start using Git and GitHub as a workflow tools instead of like those fancy technologies. So you actually start going into delving into these and start contributing. So that's when stumbled upon a couple of videos, and that's when I discovered about an awesome website that you guys can also refer to. It's called GSoCorganizations.dev. So it's basically a website that is like a repository wherein you have all the previous organizations from the past like 10, 12, 15 years and every contribution listed there, all the different type of projects. So initially I was interested in a bit about machine learning, but looking at the number of people selected in machine learning projects, I was like, okay, I should maybe reconsider my decision. So then I started looking into, I was actually more excited about the Linux kernel drivers and stuff. So the very first organization that comes to mind is the Linux Foundation. Now, the Linux Foundation is basically an umbrella organization wherein it has like different sub-organizations per se. So Linux Foundation at the top, different sub-organizations that participate into GSoC. One such sub-organization under that is Open Printing. So I was actually into drivers and stuff, kernels and stuff. So I was like, okay, either I'll look into embedded hardware and stuff, which I am currently looking into, which I was actually currently looking into as a part of my internship here in Germany. But apart from that, I was really interested in Linux. So I was like, okay, let's give open printing a try. So I went there. I got the emailing list or the mailing list and the IRC channel links to the main contributors or the main maintainers of the repository, Avik Basu and Till Campeter. So those are like the two amazing people that you'll meet when contributing to the Linux Foundation, at least for open printing. So I messaged them, they gave me a starter task, and that's how I started with open printing. So it was a mix of love for Ubuntu, love for Linux, love for kernel drivers, and love for exploring your laptop till it crashes.
Right. So many people submit their proposals for GSoC. So what's your strategy and what worked for you while getting into a project?
Well, I think we need to take a step back here because everyone, especially in India, I've seen this mindset growing in the recent times. They consider like GSoC as sort of an achievement that you need to have for you to be able to grab good internships or placements, right? Uh, that's a very different scenario because if you consider contributors from around the world or even in India as well, there are really awesome contributors who really want to contribute and give to the world. Think about it as a contribution you're making to free and open source software. You think about, okay, this is like the software. I am using that software. How can I improve that particular software? I'm using, let's suppose I have a printer and for printing, I plug the printer into my system. There's a particular bug that's really annoying to me. So I was like, okay, maybe let's go ahead and check whether the code is available. And that's the benefit of open source. You actually have code available in the repositories. You can go ahead, start exploring, start building the repository from scratch. And once you're done with that, maybe you can go ahead and give, sort of pull request on that particular bug or something, and maybe it gets accepted. So open source is about contributing to the community and also about solving your own issues through code. So apart from that, what I like to say is, yeah, you mentioned about finding GSoC challenging. So it's all about GSoC in my, at least in from what I understand. Google Summer Code is more about contributing to the organization and showing that you can contribute to the organization in a very meaningful way. So let's suppose you're targeting an organization, right? You start by first of all understanding the documentation aspect, the doc aspect about how you build the repositories. The very first thing that actually many contributors miss out is going ahead and just saying a random hi. Okay, I just turned up into the chat. Here I go. Here is my introduction. And make sure that you provide like a concise introduction about you, but not like, okay, here's my CV. You're not applying for a job. Stop. So here's my CV, here's this, here's my biodata. The person knows everything about you. No, that's not how contribution to open source work. A simple proposal from your side about your skill set, and there you go, you have introduced yourself to the community. From then on, it's more of a personal journey. You start exploring different areas of code, you start building the environment, you start reading documentations. Once you are confident enough about building and exploring the code base, then you start actually looking into issues. In the meanwhile, if you find like there are certain bugs in the documentation and stuff, so that's what the part of the process is. Like many people say, like you actually can go ahead and look into good first issues and start solving documentation and stuff, but that does not help you land GSoC, right? Google Summer of Code. The thing is, it's a continual learning process. So once you are familiar with the code base, and in the way you stumble upon, like let's suppose a spelling mistake, or let's suppose there's a concept that's explained wrong according to you in the documentation, then you make a quick pull request on GitHub and say, okay, this is what I understand and this needs correction. So that will be merged. So that is a significant contribution, because it's not like you're only contributing to the documentation but also enhancing your knowledge. So once you have like a complete understanding of the code base, you have a complete understanding about the profile of the open source project, then you start ahead and looking into bugs. There might be bugs that are very interesting for you. Like let's suppose you're facing a personal bug and that's already part, someone has already issued a bug there or raised an issue on GitHub. So that will be really interesting. And maybe then you can go there and say, okay, I like to work on this issue. Like, is there someone who's already working on this issue? So also, make sure, like while contributing to particular issues, that you are actually confirming in the community like there's no one else. Obviously, there can be multiple people working on it. It's not a race. It's about actually contributing to the open source community. So there's a particular bug which you like to solve, you're really interested. Maybe just say, okay, this is the issue, hashtag, let's suppose a random number 351. And this is the particular issue that I'll be working on. Maybe just give me around 1 or 2 weeks. I'm a student, so I might take some time, but hopefully I'll be able to go through this. So fun fact, it took me around 1 month to complete my first issue. Like I still remember, like it was exactly like 25th of December, 2022, I'll say, right? So it's almost 2 years now. If you see, in 14 days it will be Christmas. So on 25th of December, I merged my first issue. So that's really a milestone for me, like a hallmark. Right. So it's almost been 2 years. I'm not that old, by the way. But yeah, coming back to the main point being uh, that it's always about enhancing the user experience, about contributing to the community. Later on, once you have contributed enough, the people start noticing you. They are like, okay, he or she is a really nice contributor. They should be, if they propose an idea, they'll be able to contribute to the organization as well. So that is the time when you actually go ahead and tell your mentor, uh, maybe I like to be a part of GSoC, or you can actually mention that as well. There's no harm in mentioning that you will want to be a part of GSoC, but it's more about the contributions first. You contribute, you show and prove to the contributors or basically the community that yes, you're able to do meaningful contributions to the community. Once that's done, you can then go ahead and make your GSoC proposal, get it, a couple of peer reviews from different maintainers out there. Okay, do you think this is like the technical stack is correct? Do you think like is the timeline correct? Do you think this will be achievable during the time of GSoC? So those are a couple of things that you can actually go ahead and figure out. So yeah, that was a very long answer, and hopefully I did not bore you guys.
No, actually, when while you were talking about your first PR, it just reminded me of myself when I was in GSSOC, that is Girl Script Summer of Code. There, I had did just one PR. throughout the
Okay.
whole 3 months of program. So it did
Okay.
reminded me of that. Yeah. So that
That's the
was
initial
a
step.
bit.
You got to start
Yeah,
somewhere. You
exactly.
have to start somewhere. It's the first step that
Yeah,
actually leads to multiple steps and lands you into a big company and stuff. So it's always about that first
exactly.
step.
Yeah. So, you being the part of GSoC shaped your career aspirations, right? Like you just told right now that how did these help you to, upgrade your skills in tech? So, can you just tell like how exactly how it does?
Like in upgrading my technical skills with the help of GSoC and open source. Okay. So get prepared for another big answer here. So it all starts actually by actually exploring different diverse platforms, right? So, as in technical aspects, I already mentioned that I'm into, multiple fields. I'm into game development, I'm into AI and stuff because that's my not only that because that's my, primary field of engineering, but it's because that's the boom around the world as well. So AI, then there's open source, Linux kernels and stuff. So it's all about exploring what interests you the most. If you are interested in a particular thing, I feel that you should go ahead and at least go into the core technical details about those stuff. So let's suppose you are interested contributors who's just starting his journey. Let's take like the major topic right now. You're starting with LLMs. How do you start with that? So LLMs, you start go ahead and you check about OpenAI. OpenAI is no longer an open source company, so cut that out. So, anyways, getting back to the main topic, uh, let's suppose you start going and start learning about large language models. How do you start? There's obviously like a large language model. Before that, there comes natural language processing. And even before that, you should have a basic understanding about how neural networks function. What is attention mechanism? You should have a basic understanding about uh, similarities, cosine similarity, all that sort of stuff. Then how vectorization happens, what is tokenization, what is lemmatization. So once you are, what you'll notice here is that these are very basic terms that you should be familiar. Once you are actually familiar with the basic terms, you start understanding the actual flow. You progress yourself into, basic transformer models like BERT. You go on to Hugging Face, try installing, a couple of different models out there on Hugging Face, and then you start contributing, start learning about these stuff. So it's not only about like the mathematics behind. You actually do it simultaneously. It's a step-by-step process. So if you're interested, I'll say that go ahead, start learning about the technology. Once you have learned enough about the technology, start implementing the technology. What people do is they get messed up. You guys will be familiar with that because you both are like computer science students. There's something called as tutorial hell. So you like go on YouTube and start like binge watching a couple of YouTube videos. You watch for 24, 48 hours. Okay. Then you forget stuff. You come back to the YouTube video. You watch 24, 48 hours again. And then it's sort of like you're not actually getting your hands down. It's actually getting your hands dirty and actually going ahead and contributing to the field. So learn the basic technology, start implementing a project right away, start implementing that thing right away. That's what the core thing about upgrading your skill set is. I was interested in Linux drivers. I was interested in Linux. I went ahead and started exploring various types of contributions in open printing. I went ahead, explored about there's something called as cups. Cups is basically common Unix printing system. So that is basically what allows you to print on Linux systems and different profiles as well, different operating systems. So these are like certain technical specifications that you want to have to learn about. And if you are really interested into that, you go into the technical details and start contributing. It's as simple as that. You learn the basics, then start diving into a project, and once you are comfortable with both, you are an experienced software developer. Done.
Wow. So journey well begun is half done. That's well said. So what's that particular advice that you would give to our aspiring developers who want to contribute for GSSC next year?
Just get started. Get started. Get started. That's the only advice. Get started and think about contributing. Like, think about stuff that you're really interested in. It's not like some people might go ahead and do GSoC for the sake of GSoC because that provides you, it acts like a catalyst. It allows you to scale up. It allows you to get more internships, more better opportunities as well. It's not about that. It's about understanding the actual system behind. It's about actually going ahead and understanding the code details that interest you. If I'm interested in LLMs, I'll go ahead and start exploring the different LLM models out there. I'll start exploring APIs. Like if I wanted to do like an API call and stuff, I'll have how many providers do I have? Okay, there's one from OpenAI, there's one from Anthropic, there's one from Gemini. So three API subscriptions. What are the free tier subscriptions? There's Llama, there's Mistral. Then I'm not sure. There might be one or two others. Like how do you run it locally? You run it locally using Olama. So these are all the stuff that you actually should be aware of if you want to actually get started contributing. So learn about the technical details, start small, but end big. That's what the main thing is. Start small, end big, and get started. That's the main advice to all the contributors out there.
Yeah, so after GSoC, like after contributing to open source and all, we talk about the career opportunities. As recently you mentioned how Indians, like how we people in our own country pursue this. So are there any opportunities like that? Like what all opportunities are like that? If yes, then.
Awesome. So that actually depends on what organization you are contributing to and how big that organization is. Irrespective of that as well, there are like plenty of opportunities for you. So what happens is once you have completed your GSoC project, and let's suppose you're interested in applying, obviously it gives you a profile boost, right? Because at that time, because what happens is like you have the internship season beginning by the end of your first GSoC. And before that, you want to give your profile a boost. So actually getting ahead of people because you're actually getting ahead of people because you already know how the software development field works. You have actually started contributing to meaningful projects, seeing the build process behind. So even before people got an internship, you already had like sort of a pre-internship. Well, Google does not term it as an internship. It's more like an open source contribution with a nice stipend. So, uh, so it's basically more about, you basically have that extra edge. Okay, you actually know how to contribute to free and open source software. That's an amazing plus point. Not only DSA, not only learning about the basic skills, you have actual development knowledge. It's not like basic projects. It's like projects that are actually there in the world that are being used by millions of people. So that's that's a major plus point. Then coming on to the organization level stuff, you should keep on exploring different opportunities out there. Like there might happen that your organization holds a conference, like has something, you know, for the community itself. They have like annual conferences and stuff. So you go ahead and start applying to those conferences. Maybe they find your project really interesting. You contributed to them as a part of your GSoC journey, and they really liked your project. They'll want you to go ahead and give a small talk around 5 to 10 minutes in your organization. That helps boost your profile. That's how you earn your first international trip. You get your first international trip. You go to a conference, not only an international trip, an Indian trip as well. So let's suppose the conference is in India. You go ahead, you do public speaking. That's how you gain confidence. That's how you show your knowledge to the world. Yes, you're contributing. And that's when mostly the offers start rolling in. You should always, always be on the watch out for on-campus placement and both off-campus placements. That's what my like personal goal was, like to be aware of both on-campus and off-campus and start sort of like not only have DSA strong, but also have development skills strong. So that's how you balance both stuff. But apart from that, GSoC does act as a major catalyst for you during the job application process, during the internship process. Because the major factor being GSoC acts as a catalyst because I might be missing out on a couple of words here, I'm not sure. So GSoC acts as a catalyst for you because uh, you learn the actual experience. You're contributing to software development. You're actually doing stuff what people will be doing 1 year later down the internship, like once they're actually selected into the internship. So you have like an internship experience even before your actual internship begins. So that's really awesome. A good starting point is actually during the second year, but yes, you can definitely go ahead and look for, if you're looking for that, that stipend in US dollars. So you can actually get that in the third year and the fourth year as well. But it's all about the contributions. If you're really interested into the technology stuff, definitely go ahead and take part in GSoC. It not only will help you enhance your own technical skills, but actually give your resume a boost, give your profile a boost, and basically open the world up to you. That's what the GSoC does, and that's how you get opportunities.
being a part of a open source community or participating in any program opens a very diverse environment. Like we can work with people with diverse background. So how does that help?
That's actually a very amazing question. Because when you get started, you have like a couple of people inside your community, inside your club that you're contributing to. You have a particular mindset. There's sort of an Indian mindset for coding. Believe me, there's actually mindsets with the different countries that you are in. So if you are in Europe, there's a more relaxed mindset. If you're in India, there's this more competitive mindset that you have. So it's about exploring the perspective. Different people bring different perspectives. And obviously, able to explore what the perspective is gives you a wide opinion about the software development engineering industry in as a whole. Because in India, you're already familiar with the process, but you also start getting familiar with the process that might be happening in their country or how the process is for that particular country or for that particular person. He might give you hints on how to progress for an international career or for an Indian career. So that's pretty amazing. Apart from that, apart from the perspectives, it's always about the skills. You'll see that people who are contributing to open source, they have like full-time jobs, but they're doing this out of the passion. So I have seen people who are working as full-time professors actually contributing to stuff in the open source AILM, AIML domain. So that's really important that people are taking out stuff. So you actually learn a lot. They have years of experience be in the technical field, in that particular field, and you start gaining that experience as a young developer. So once you enter the field, you are able to see, okay, that's the perspective. He brings in a new perspective. This is something that I've not studied about. Maybe I can ask him a couple of questions to clarify this doubt about. So that's how you go. You have actual. Let's talk about a different topic apart from AI and ML. Let's talk about Linux kernel. So even for the Linux kernel, you have people you have Linus Torvalds, first of all, who's like the main developer of Linux, who's the main developer of the kernel architecture. So apart from him, you have people who are actually working as senior software engineers in Google or Red Hat, different communities. So they actually know how to contribute. They know the build process. So if they know the build process and you are sort of a new person entering into the arena, it sort of gives you more motivation to work on your skill set. First thing. Second, it provides a very diverse opinion. So a person in the USA who's working, let's suppose, in the Google, who's working as a senior software developer at Google, he might have a different opinion to a person who's working at Red Hat because those people are thinking from the terms of their companies as well. They're familiar with the architecture that the company is developing. Red Hat Canonical might have a different architecture internally. That's but they're focusing on a primary sort of an intersection of sort. That intersection is open source, the community that they're contributing in. So it's like about they had a particular issue in their own development system, but they want that particular issue to be resolved according to their own development system, but still contribute to the community. So that's how the global perspective is about. So GSoC is all about global perspective.
Yeah. So you have studied in Germany colleges, right? So how did those experiences influence your perspective on tech and education?
That's a tough question per se because I'm still doing the semester exchange program. But yes, like the Indian community and the European community, or let's suppose the German community as well, I already talked about this, there's different mindset that you need to talk about. The Indian community is more about the hustle culture, how much you can push. You are in your, sorry, excuse me, you're in your 20s and can you like restart with the question again and sort of miss the flow here? Really sorry for that.
So you have studied in Germany colleges and you are still studying right now. So how did those experiences influence your perspective on tech and education?
Yeah, so that is a bit of a difficult question because I'm still studying as a semester exchange student. I might be able to provide a better answer 3 months down the road after I'm back in India, but right now, here's my take. First of all, India, it's all about the different perspective always that I'm mentioning. First one is about the Indian perspective. That is, in India, you have a hustle culture, you have a competitive culture. So it's like you always want to be there with the crowd. The crowd keeps on pushing you. If you have a couple of friends who are really excited about tech, they're like, you'll see, okay, that guy is learning about Linux, that guy is already doing an internship at some company. What about me? I can also go ahead and contribute. I can also learn about defense technology. I want to grab that internship offer as well. So in India, it's more about the competitive mindset. So that's really important. Where that's really important about the Indian culture. It really teaches you how to grow in a competitive, in a hustle culture. So at least in any software development engineering job, or let's suppose in any job, you really have that mindset that you can grow. We actually have been taught that mindset from the times of JEE mains and JEE advanced as well. So it's like sort of built into the blood for us Indians. Apart from that, in Germany, here they have a very relaxed culture. What do I mean by relaxed culture here is that people are advised to explore more. They can go into a variety of diverse field sets here. So research is a primary thing. Research is like a very important thing here. It's about if you're going into a particular field, you go all in or you go all in or you go all out. That's the thing. So in Germany, it's about the research perspective. In India, it's about a hustle culture. So thankfully for me, I have been a part of both. So I can say that I am now I have a diverse culture, sort of a diverse cultural background behind me that actually helps me grow in the software development engineering industry. But yes, India is about the hustle culture. Germany is about the research culture, about relaxed culture. That is what I'm trying to say here. Awesome.
So, having an internship at Best Sensor Day in Germany, how did it contribute in your software development journey?
As a part of any internship process that you're actually working on, like any internship process that you it actually helps you build your core development skills. Like before I actually started contributing to GSoC, so I already knew a little bit about how the production processes. But the internship that I was working in was in a completely different direction. It was based more on cloud, it was based more on firmware stuff, about IoT, about embedded systems. So that's where another open source organization comes in. So you'll keep on hearing these open source organizations because I'm an open source guy. So there's another open source organization for embedded systems. It's called Zephyr. It's a part of Linux Foundation again. No surprises there. So Linux Foundation, till now I've mentioned two sub-organizations, Open Printing and Zephyr. So Zephyr is basically something called as a real-time operating system. So think about like a bridge between your actual computer and the IoT stuff, right? So let's suppose you have a very constrained system. You have a system that has very less amount of memory, that has very less amount of RAM available. There's no storage space, nothing like that. How about an operating system there? That's where you get the term real-time operating system. So operating system that is constrained within limits of the architecture, like let's suppose Arduino or Raspberry Pi. So these have like, or even smaller architectures as well. So that's where Zephyr RTOS or real-time operating system comes in. So my internship was a part of that. So for me, it was like exploring a completely new, different world. So as a part of my GSoC, I was already aware about the system design stuff and a little bit about operating systems, how threading, processing, all that stuff works. But to be able to explore that from scratch and actually code, the architecture stuff, code ahead with the semaphores and stuff as a part of the internship process. Build a cloud storage system that allows you to visualize basically build a Django dashboard that allows you to build and visualize input streams coming from different IoT devices. That was a major part. Apart from that, learning about like how to push to production, how things work, how you raise issues, how you communicate with the developers, what are stand-up meetings. So that's a really awesome experience coming from the internship. Those are the stuff that you look to. So about the internship is not always about getting a return offer. It's about learning as well. So once you are contributing inside an internship, you get to learn about the background process. You get to learn about the actual production that goes behind. You get to learn about okay, the frustration. Sometimes the frustration, sometimes happiness. So it's sort of a love-hate relationship that keeps on going, but more of a developing relationship with your technical leads, with the people who are more experienced in the industry. So it's really nice contributing as an intern, and it's even nicer if you get to present a part of your project as a part of an expo or as a part of an international conference. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. So we have also seen like you have won a lot of hackathons, right? and also you are a part of GSoC. So, can you tell, like, is there any relation between hackathons and open source contribution hard work? If yes, then how?
Okay, so there's definitely a relation between GSoC and about hackathons. It's not like hackathons are like for a more shorter span of time. GSoC is for an extended span of time, but it's getting into that thing. Like I mentioned before in the podcast as well, get started. It's always about getting started. For hackathons, it's like you get started immediately because the time will run out. For GSoC, it's like you get started, you have a slower learning process, and you build along the way. So that's like the main important thing. You don't think about the process. You start doing and learning along the way. Uh, this might sound like, this might sound like how LLMs work. Sorry for that. But in general, I'll say it's always about getting started. Like you have GSoC, you have hackathons. It's always about getting started. That's the main key aspect. Apart from that, hackathons actually again here I bring how you can, if you are still in India, how can you can still have the global perspective. In hackathon you have that hustle culture. You have 48 hours, no sleep, lots of Red Bull, lots of caffeine. In GSoC, it's more relaxed. You're sitting in your bedroom. You are, maybe sitting on your bed having hot chocolate during the winter. So GSoC is like that. You're more into the research. One is more about the hustle culture. That's how GSoC, and it's more like the initial question that you asked me, like the diverse perspective in India and in Germany. That's how I compare GSoC and hackathons too.
Yeah, that's a very awesome comparison. So, being the leader at IIT Mandi's programming club, how do you inspire and guide others?
Just a fun fact, I was the leader. Like, obviously, it's like if you are elected a leader, you're elected a leader, or basically as, the coordinator of the programming club for a particular year. After that, you go ahead and assign the task to the juniors as well, because it's about a learning process. So you learn about how to manage stuff, how the programming club works, what are the internal functionings behind how you hold sessions. So it's like initially during the podcast, I already told you guys, like it's not only about coding. It's about the product management. It's about the UI UX. It's about the basic development skills that go behind that as well. Those are the life skills as well. So I was really grateful of being like a programming coordinator as a part of the command prompt community in IIT Mandi. As the coding community in IIT Mandi, we do also have a Google developers group as well, GDSC. So we have GDSC and the command prompt. So those are two different clubs focusing on two different domains. We also have a heuristics clubs. So I'm sort of giving like a shout out to all the technical clubs here. So, anyways, getting back to the main point, being like a coordinator of the programming club was indeed a very awesome experience because it allows you to, it sort of first of all motivates you to always be, the best out of the best, because you already have the best people studying in IITs and IITs, all the best colleges in India. And that too, for a computer science domain, everyone is doing DSA, everyone is doing developing projects, everyone is doing something innovative. Someone is working on a startup, someone is looking for funding, someone is already selected and contributing to Jane Street as a hedge fund developer. So those are all the things that you are actually a part of, and it's very inspiring to actually go ahead and see that, the zoomed out perspective, and you sort of can look around and see around you, basically that you can actually schedule and manage sessions. You learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about productivity, you learn a lot about coding. So it's the entire experience packaged into one. So I'm really grateful to my seniors for electing me as the coordinator of the programming club. It was a really amazing journey. It Fun fact, I was the programming club coordinator when I got my first international conference in Latvia. So that's where the journey started for me. That's where the major journey started from me, and from there on, it has been an upwards rise. So really awesome, really proud to be the coordinator of the command prompt initially, and right now I have now passed on the coordinator position to a different person. Like he's a junior, so he's now managing. So it's all about the learning process. You pass on to juniors what your seniors gave to. It's the process.
So we have some couple of questions for rapid fire where you just need to answer only in one word, not even a sentence, just
Okay.
one word. Rapid fire, the questions will
Okay.
be there. Yeah,
That seems interesting. Okay.
yeah. So let's start. Like, what's your favorite programming language and why?
You mentioned one word. How does the Y come in here?
There is only two words you can tell.
Okay. Uh, uh, okay, two words, right? So obviously, right now, because of the boom of AI, language, Python, reason, LLMs.
Describe GSoC in a single word.
Mhm. Catalyst. There you go. That's a nice word. GSoC is a catalyst.
Right. Germany or India? Where do you prefer working on tech projects?
I'll say both. It gives me like a diverse cultural opinion. It allows me to grow as a human being. So I'll definitely say both.
If not data science, which tech field would you have taken?
Uh, Either cybersecurity or game development. So cybersecurity, game development at the same level.
So, what is the one tech innovation you wish you had invented?
That's a tough one. I mean, there are multiple tech innovations I will want to have innovated. So here's a list for you. You asked for one, I'll mention a list. The first one, being Transformers. Imagine being a part of OpenAI right now, being the best company in the LLM world. So it started with the paper. Transformers is all you need. It was published by Attention is all you need. That was a paper published in 2017 by Google. So maybe developing the transformer architecture, the first one. Second, maybe implementing the Git and GitHub system. Third, maybe implementing the kernel architecture of the Linux system. Three things. There you go.
Wow, that was a awesome rapid fire session. Where do you see yourself contributing in next 5 years, especially in domain of data science and NLP?
And me in the next 5 years, honestly, I'm not sure. Because it's all about growing. You never know what's going to be happening in the development, especially with AI around you. You're not sure on what to expect for the very next day. You have tons of models coming every day. You don't know when artificial general intelligence arrives or even artificial super intelligence arrives in the next 5 years. Like Google also released like a quantum chip, so you don't know where quantum computing will be. So I'll play safe here. I'll say I'm not sure. I just keep rolling with the crowd. I just keep getting the best updates out there. I just keep growing. That's what I want to do.
So, what are the
Maybe one second, Sanskriti. Maybe we can have a podcast after 5 years and I can tell you better.
absolutely why not? We will in fact invite you again.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So, what are the emerging tech trends that excite you the most, and how are you preparing to leverage
Hmm. The technical trends.
them?
Obviously, there's a lot of buzz going around with the LLMs. So it all started back in 2022. So it's like now hitting a plateau, obviously, because LLMs right now have like the computing power of like a billion of they're computing are using a lot of resources. They have the almost the entire internet available to them as a training resource, but the capabilities are like they are good. Like if you see like OpenAI released like the O1 models on Friday. Yeah, they have this shipments thing going on in the developer community. So it's like they have like 12 days of releases. Every day release something new. So they started with I'm not sure, I might be wrong with the order, but they started with giving you O1 and O1 Pro. So apparently O1 Pro was able to solve like very high level questions even on code forces. So that's really awesome to see how AI models are proceeding with. Then they released Sora. Sora is basically have you guys tried out Sora, by the way? It's basically you go ahead, give a prompt, it gives you the video, and they have an entire dashboard of it. That's really amazing. So Sora O1 Pro mode. Then recently they released about the canvas. Anthropic is also developing something called as Artifacts, which is a project which allows you to build complete projects within the Claude system. So those are like the recent technical advancements, at least for the AI ML field. I'm not sure what is happening uh, in the game development field right now, because obviously we'll have to think about, we're thinking about models generation, we're thinking about background generation, we're thinking about how Unity or different gaming engines like Unity, Unreal, or even open source engines that are out there can actually use all these LLMs to increase their computing power to help the developers out there build more robust games. That is one thing. In I forgot about yeah, what was I mentioning here? Yes, about I forgot about what I was going to say. Just give me a moment. So I mentioned about LMs. I mentioned about gaming. Yeah. The next step is obviously about the Linux architecture. Well, Linux architecture right now is the only stable thing that we have right now. So you'll probably see a bunch of upgrades happening in the architecture, but not like drastic releases. So you'll not have like a Linux kernel was like 80% efficient. Now it becomes 200% efficient. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But yes, there are a lot of contributions going on, and I will definitely like to be a part. I'm really awesome to be alive during this era, during this awesome era that actually is giving you each of these. So it's all started like if you see like all of us, we all started when the iPhones were getting released in 2007, 2008, when Steve Jobs was there. And right now we have progressed to a fact that we are targeting artificial general intelligence. How many years is that? That's not even 20 years. You see the progress here. We have a quantum computing chip called Willow that can actually go ahead and be developed in the future to even break very strong encryption algorithms like RSA and stuff. So there's like a ton of development things going on, and I'm really excited to be a part of that. And I hope all the viewers are excited as well.
Yeah, definitely. So to sum up your journey, what's that one piece of advice that you would have received in your early stages of your development career? Would have changed your career path?
I'll say think less, grow more. Think less, grow more. That's like, summarizing everything. And yeah, apart from that, uh, getting started. Getting started, think less, grow more. In fact, I found a nice, sort of a rhyming thing out of it. Like, think less, get started, grow more. There you go. Awesome.
Yeah. So, like, let's come to the end of the today's podcast. We were like grateful to have you on stage and to know about GSoC and a lot of tech trends which we came to know from you. Uh, yeah. So, do you want to say some last words before the end of the podcast to our viewers, to our audience?
First of all, thank you once again, Sanskriti and Krishi, for inviting me. This was like really awesome experience talking to you guys. Maybe we should be doing some live coding or coding sessions down the line where I'm contributing to open source. Krishi can come up and start contributing, making proposal about GSoC. You can go ahead and start talking about GSoC and how to contribute. That will be a really awesome thing for the viewers. Hopefully down the line, like diverging into more multiple aspects, not only podcasts but live coding streams and sessions like those. That will be really awesome because that is at the end it's always about building the community. If you are able to build the community, you're always going right. So keep contributing, and thank you once again for inviting me to this awesome podcast. And amazing work, guys. Really nice questions. I enjoyed the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Akarshan, for coming and sharing your experience with us. So for the viewers, please like, share, subscribe, and thank you for joining with us. Stay tuned for the next podcast.